A Rabbinic Anthology, selected with an introduction by C.G. Montefiore and H.Loewe. H.Loewe's introduction is the one where the abbreviations are appended to. The doctrine of merit, Zakut, for which the rabbis are much attacked, especially by Lutheran theologians, is important, but complicated. It is not of a great interest for the general reader. I give, therefore, only a few characteristic quotations out of a possible multitude. 583, bid 40b, see our selection 617 if that's posted, or just watch these in order. The rabbis say, let a man ever regard himself as if he were half guilty and half deserving. Then, if he fulfills one command, happy is he, for he has inclined the scale towards merit, zakut. If he commits one sin, woe to him, for he has inclined the scale to guilt. As it is said, one sin, really sinner, destroys much good. Ecclesiastes 9:18. By the one sin which he has committed, he has caused himself to lose much good. R. Elazar B. Simeon said, the world is judged by the majority, and the individual is judged by the majority. If a man fulfills one command, happy is he, for he has caused the scale for himself and for the whole world to incline towards the pan of merit, zakut. If he has committed one sin, woe to him, for both for himself and for the whole world he makes the pan of guilt the heavier. By his one sin he has made himself and the world lose much good. Our Simeon B. Yochai said, nevertheless, if he has been perfectly righteous all his life, and at the last rebels, he destroys the effect of all his former good deeds. And if he has been a complete sinner all his life, and repents at the last, his evil deeds are not remembered against him. Pid 40b, see selection 617. Well, in the most material sense, every bit of good or bad or whatever counts, has an effect. And in terms of the ethics, the society punishes or rewards for any one particular thing to the point of, overshadowing the effects of everything else. The subject of zakut has been exhaustively treated by Dr. A. Marmorstein, The Doctrine of Merits in Old Rabbinical Literature, Jews College Publications, number 7, London, 1920. For the question of vicarious merit, see the note to 617 and note 15. And we'll probably have the notes one number per program. There may be some that are too short to make that reasonable, but 584, Mac 315, see selection 273. Archanina B. Gamaliel said, if he who has committed one sin thereby forfeits his life, how much more shall he who fulfills one command be given life? Our Simeon, through an ingenious collocation and interpretation of Leviticus 18:29 and 18:5, said, hence is it proved that God rewards a man who sits passively and does no sin, as much as him who actively fulfills a commandment. Our Simeon B. Rebbe, quoting the command not to eat blood, said, if a man who refrains from eating blood, against which a man revolts, is rewarded, how much more shall he who refrains from robbery and unchastity, which a man may desire to do, be rewarded and earn merit for himself and all his descendants. Mac 3:15, 273. From one point of view, the whole purpose of the law, with its large number of enactments, was to enable the Israelites to acquire merit, and through merit, reward. 585, Mac 3:16, see selection 508. R. Hananiah B. Acacia said, "It pleased God to make Israel able to acquire merit. Therefore he multiplied to them Torah and commandments. As it is said, it pleased the Lord," probably a mistranslation for God as a verb and noun, "for his righteousness' sake, to make the law large." Isaiah 42:21, Mac 3:16, see selection 508. This passage is added in the prayer book to be recited in the synagogue after the reading of each chapter of the Aboth, prayer book 186. Professor Danby translates the opening words, "God was minded to give merit to Israel. Merit can be stored up. The merits of the patriarchs help their descendants. They form a sort of treasury upon which Israel can claim to draw. Even the merit of an ordinary good man can help his children or the world at large." See selection 611. Sometimes Zakut, both, the merits of the patriarchs, seems to mean no more than the effect of training and heredity expressed in simple terms which the multitude could comprehend, for the rabbis, like Jesus, lacked a scientific terminology and the philosophic outlook which Greek gave to Paul. Good discipline and example may bear fruit, and thus the merit of ancestors or parents may be said to avail their descendants, as S. Levy says. Original Virtue and Other Short Studies, CR selections 242 and 643. Zakut Aboth is the Jewish antithesis to original sin, but it was sometimes materialized. Notes 46, 95, and 96. That's H.L.'s note. 586. Exodus R. Ketissa 44, verse 3, 6, and 9. For another interpretation of this proof, see 562. And well, whether of one's line or not, there's some effects in society. So it's not quite the same as it counts for you on some spiritual level. But it may give you an advantage when it comes to learning or performing. R. Phinehas, the priest, said in reference to Proverbs 11:21, "If you have fulfilled a command, do not seek its reward from God straightway, lest you be not acquitted of sin, but be regarded as wicked, because you have not sought to cause your children to inherit anything. For if Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had sought the reward of the good deeds which they performed, how could the seed of these righteous men have been delivered? And how could Moses have said, 'Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob,' so that God repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people?" Exodus 32, verses 13 and 14, words left out. Why did Moses mention the patriarchs? R. Levy said, "Moses said, 'Lord of the world, will the dead live?' God replied, 'Moses, are you a heretic?' Moses said, 'If the dead are not to live in the world to come, then it is fair that thou shouldst deal with thy people as thou mayest wish. But if the dead live, what will thou say to the patriarchs in the world to come, when they arise and seek from thee the fulfillment of the assurance in which thou didst cause them to trust? How wilt thou answer them? Didst thou not assure them that their seed should be as stars in heaven for multitude, and now thou seekest to destroy them. And Moses said also to God, were the patriarchs wicked or righteous? Make a distinction. If they were wicked, then it is fair that thou shouldest destroy their descendants. For then their ancestors, having no works of merit, secute with thee. But if they were righteous, then give their descendants the benefit of their works. Note 47. Now you see this critical race theory and all this stuff where people are punished for the alleged stuff of their ancestors and all that stuff, but it's not. But they're somehow excluding the Jews from this, that you can't criticize even the Jews who do stuff for themselves, and that's not the rabbinical approach otherwise, but Exodus R, Ketissa 44, verses 3, 6, and 9. For another interpretation of this proof text, see 562. 587, Canticles R1, section 14, 1 on 114 folio 12b, see our selection 612. A bundle of myrrh, kofar, is my well-beloved, Canticles chapter 1, verse 14. This refers to Isaac, who was tied up like a bundle upon the altar. Kofar, because he atones for the sins of Israel, Canticles R1, section 14, 1 on 114, folio 12b, see our selection 612. Now, if you pay attention, there's some odd contradictions, right? So if Ishmael was 12 years older, why would you ask advice of a toddler over the advice of a teenager, right? And, another mix-up is like, well, what mother is going to be carrying around her teenager? It would usually be the other way around when all that comes down, right? Because they were in the wilderness, they didn't have anything, and then they found the well of Zamzam and all that. Kofar, or camphor, Hebrew kofar, and atonement, ransom, also kofar, are from different roots, which are outwardly similar. Our camphor is in fact identical with the Hebrew via the Arabic kafur, because remember, Arabic came before Hebrew. Of course, Aramaic came before Arabic. Spanish, canfora. French, camphor, i.e., see the Italian, caffora, and Middle High German, gaffer. The word tie is used of twisting the 4 feet of a sacrifice, of tying the red heifer to a post, and of various forms of physical and moral restraint. It is several times used of Isaac in this connection. Thus, according to one reading, as much as Abraham bound his son in this world, so did God restrain the genii of the Gentiles in the world above. Genesis R, Wayera 56:5, page 600. Isaac said, tie me firmly. Same source, 8, and page 603. The Gentiles are tied, i.e., restrained from sin, by the 7 Noahide laws. The same root is used of tying bundles and posies. It is therefore very appropriate here. The commentary Yefeh Kol remarks that the reference to Isaac's atonement must be supplemented by a citation from Abraham's prayer when he bound Isaac. May it be thy will that when Isaac's sons fall into sin and commit evil deeds, this, words left out, binding may be remembered by thee, and thou mayest be filled with mercy towards them. Same source, 10, page 607, and that's H.L.'s note. 588, thou shalt not take the mother bird with the young, thou shalt surely let the mother bird go free, and take the young to thee. Deuteronomy 22, verse 7. R. Lazar said, it was not necessary to add the words, thou shalt surely let the mother bird go free, but because she was busy with beautifying the world and with its maintenance, it is right that she should be preserved. R. Hia said, if in the case of a bird where there is no question of merit, zakut, are of ancestors, are of covenants, are of oaths, her young atoned for her. How much more in the case of the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? If one of them sins, will the merits of these patriarchs atone for him? Deuteronomy R. Ke Tetze 6:5. I do not think that this, the controversial rendering of R. Lazar's remark, is correct. Nit asek, rendered she was busy, is masculine, while tenatzel, she should be preserved, is feminine. First, in his comments on Wunche, page 129, would alter the former verb to the feminine. In all deference, I would suggest that nit asek can stand, but that it be taken as the first plural hith pa'el imperfect, not as a nith pa'el perfect. I should render thus: God said, seeing that we, i.e. God and the man who finds the nest, are busying ourselves with the maintenance of the world, do thou indeed let her go. The argument is derived from the double verb, releasing, shalt thou release. One of the verbs is taken to refer to God and the other to man, thus suggesting a partnership. Examples of deductions from double verbs have been given before. See 534, and that's H.L.'s note. The first part of the above passage does not strictly belong here, but it is worth citation and is therefore given. 589, Tunch B. Nitzabim 25a, ye stand this day, all of you, before the Lord, all the men of Israel. Deuteronomy 29:10. All of you are pledges one for the other. If there be but one righteous man among you, you exist, all of you, through his merit, and not you alone, but the whole world, as it says, and the righteous is the foundation of the world. A.V. and Everlasting Fountain, Proverbs 10:25. If one man sins, the whole generation suffers, as was the case with Achan, Joshua 22:20. How much more will the good done by an individual benefit his environment? Tunch B. Nitzabim 25a. Yet one must not rely upon zakut too much. 597 of the selections. 590, Midrash Psalm on 146, verse 3, 287b, section 2. A man must not trust in the work of his ancestors. If a man does not do good in this world, he cannot put his trust in the work of his fathers. No man will eat in the time to come of his father's works, but only of his own. Midrash Psalm on 146, verse 3, 267b, section 2. I would like to state here that the great scholar Moore holds that zakut is often used in a prepositional way, without thinking of the desert or merit of the object, as we use by virtue of, without any thought of the usual meaning of the noun. He contends that when we read, for example, that the world was created by the merit zakut of the Torah, or by the merit zakut of Israel, the natural rendering is for the sake of the Torah or for the sake of Israel. So too, the zakut of the fathers is frequently best translated in the same way, for the sake of the patriarchs. God did this or that. Volume 3, page 164. And see page XXXII. And let us remember an equivalent of Israel is Mujahideen. So those who struggle for God is equivalent to those who struggle for the system, of God.